All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, the New York Mets find themselves in the midst of a tailspin as they've lost seven of their last eight games and now nine out of their last 11. And as a result of this, the Metropolitans have surrendered the lead in the National League East to the Philadelphia Phillies, while they've dropped down to third place overall in the division behind the Atlanta Braves. And this is all a result of them getting swept this weekend in the city of brotherly love by their divisional rivals. Now, you look at the Mets offense over this stretch. And this is a big reason why this team is sputtering. Over the last 11 games, the Mets have only managed to score 30 runs, which includes them being shut out today by starting pitcher Zach Wheeler. Now, if you look at this Mets offense, and it has been paltry at best this season, they're 10th in the National League in on base percentage, 12th in the NL in batting average, 14th in runs, and dead last in hits. That ain't going to get it done. Of course, over the offseason, we saw the Mets go out there and acquire all-star shortstop Francisco Lindor from Cleveland. And, he hasn't lived up to the hype. On top of that, he's injured right now. Just prior to the trade deadline, we saw the Mets make a deal with the Chicago Cubs for second baseman Javier Baez, Lindor's buddy. And just like Lindor, Baez ain't living up to the billing. And then on top of that, he's injured now. Michael Conforto picked the absolute worst time to have his worst season of his career. A lot of people expected, myself included, Conforto to have a big time impact in his walk season. But Conforto's only batting 201. And, you just look at it and you're just like, wow. You look at the Jacob deGrom injury. I mean, of course, when deGrom was on, he was on. But the bottom line is, this reeks of a long-term injury, and I don't think you're going to see deGrom pitch for the Mets anytime soon this season. Marcus Stroman, he's been up and down, but the Mets have seen him been more down than up as of late. You look at Edwin Diaz and this shaky Mets bullpen, and, they've blown their fair share of games this season for the Metropolitans. And the bottom line is this team is not playing well right now. The Mets flat out got punched in the mouth in Philadelphia this weekend by the Phillies. And basically everything that the Mets needed to do in this series, they didn't. While the things that the Mets needed to do, it was the Phillies who did it. The Phillies consistently got out to the early lead. The Phillies consistently dictated the pace. And because of that, that's the reason why they are sitting in first place right now. And of course, the Phillies overall are one of the hottest teams in Major League Baseball. You look at Sandy Alderson, who is running this Mets front office, as well as manager Luis Rojas. And they must, and I repeat, must find a way to get a spark for this team. Now, I know that it is still early August, and I know that the Mets are only down 2.5 games in this division. But the bottom line is, if the Mets don't get it going soon, this 2.5 game deficit could easily turn into a 6 or 7 game deficit. That's how this team is spiraling out of control, and it starts with their non-existent offense. None of the Mets' everyday guys are even close to hitting 300. This is a team that, they have struggled all season long scratching out runs, and it's really showing up right now at the worst opportune time or inopportune time right now for this team. You look at the Mets play, and honestly, I know that they had 3 consecutive solo shots last night in the ninth inning in the 5-3 loss to the Phillies. But you look at it, at times they just look like they don't have any life. And you figure at this point of the season, you're fighting, you're scrapping, you're clawing, or you should be, because you have an opportunity to win your division. And that this is the only way for you to get into the postseason this year is by winning the East. And yet they're not doing it. You look at the Mets. I know they have a 3-game set starting tomorrow night at home versus the Washington Nationals, but they have a very tough stretch coming up with series against both the Los Angeles Dodgers and San Francisco Giants. They still have a series with the New York Yankees, still have a series with the Boston Red Sox, as well as the Milwaukee Brewers. And then they finish up with Atlanta to finish the regular season. So, if you're the Mets right now, what can you say? I mean, this is gut check time. We're going to see what this team is made of. I know that we could easily say that it's been gut check time for them the last week or so, and they just have not done it. I look at it right now. The Mets, they basically picked one of the worst times of the year to play their worst baseball. And you look at it, the Phillies are playing their best baseball right now. Still, there is time for this season if you are the Mets, plenty of time, rather. And, again, I'm going to stand by what I've been saying for the past couple of months. Nobody, and I repeat, nobody is going to run away with the National League East. More than likely, 85, maybe even 87 games will win this division. But you know what? You got to hunker down if you're the Metropolitans. You got to find some life. You have to find a spark, and it's only going to begin with the guys in that clubhouse. Nobody else is going to do it for them. Obviously, you look at it. This is probably the lowest point of the Mets season right now. I expected them to struggle coming into this series. You look at the way that they were playing, and then the Phillies were playing, and then you also look at the Phillies' home record as compared to the Mets' road record this season. And you know what? All of that came into play. For the Metropolitans, it's put up or shut up time. You got to show people what you got sooner rather than later, because if you don't, this team might as well start looking towards when pitchers and catchers are going to report in the winter. A few weeks ago, it just shows you how things can go in sports. A few weeks ago, this Mets team looked like they were ready to seize control in this division. Now they're hanging on by a thread. Well, let me rephrase that. Not really hanging on by a thread. Momentum wise, yes, hanging on by a thread. And if people look at this team play, they're going to say, wow, they don't have a shot at winning this division. Stranger things have happened. I'm not going to sit up there and write them off officially, but this team definitely, and I repeat, definitely does have to play better. And you never know. Maybe the Mets could surprise some people and when they face the Dodgers and Giants. You never know. Strange things have happened. That's why they play the game. But at the point that we are at right now, it is not looking good for this club in these dire games. So it's going to be interesting to see for the month of August or the rest of the month of August how the Mets play. And it'll be an interesting thing to see, whether the way that they play is going to determine whether they have some important games to talk about or play, or will have some important games for the Mets to talk about, for the month of September. But the way things are going right now, it's gut check time. Like I said, they got punched in the mouth this week by the Phillies, and let's see how they respond this coming week. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.